Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Farhan, also known as Gunner since 96, and you're here watching my Mikel Arteta press conference reaction, his post-match press conference reaction where he talks about the aftermath of the game. He makes some comments about the performances, about the players, about injuries, about players that have shined in the last few games. It was really interesting to hear from his perspective how he feels and what his plans are towards certain individuals. And we're going to get straight into it because I've picked out 3 quotes relating to 3 different players, starting off with Bukayo Saka. Now, worrying enough as it is, with Emile Smith-Rowe and Odegaard out, we now have Bukayo Saka added to that list, and Arteta can't tell us exactly how long he's going to be out for, what the condition is. This is what he had to say on Bukayo Saka. He says, "I don't know the extent. For Thursday, David and Kieran will be out. Emile and Martin, we don't know yet. Let's see how Bukayo develops in the next few days. He had some discomfort in his thigh. I don't know what it is. I hope no, but the last thing we need is another attacking midfielder with another issue." So it seems as if the last option that we had to put in that number 10 role was Saka. And I think one of the interviewers, tongue-in-cheek made a comment saying that it's like almost a curse right now for whoever plays in that number 10 role, because all 3 of our attacking number 10 role midfielders are out. The next possible player to play there, you're thinking maybe Willian, maybe Ceballos, but having Saka out is definitely a massive blow. It didn't look very good as he limped off. I mean, I'm not sure what happened. The collision itself was very strange. The contact itself was very almost minimal for the type of reaction that we got from him. It seemed as if, it seems like a dead leg. I can't really explain it. I can't really find any other explanations other than just a really awkward contact being made with him and whoever it was that made the challenge, or whoever it was that he collided with. And it was, it's affected his thigh. It's not like a hamstring, or it's not like a calf. Yes, it's very weird. It surely is a muscular problem. It could be, like a bruise or something. It could take a few days to heal, but, we're yet to find out the full extent of what it is, the situation. But if Bukayo Saka is out and Smith-Rowe and Odegaard are out, we're in big trouble. But judging by what Arteta said, Emile and Martin, we don't know yet. So it seems like maybe they are close to returning back from injury. If it is the case that they are, then maybe we won't miss Saka as much, or it won't impact us as much because we have like-for-like players there. But, that left-back position, what do we do there? Because if Tierney's not available, if Cedric's not available, you're looking at Saka for someone who can fill in there. But as we saw at Sheffield United, a player who was played there and who looked pretty comfortable and has in most games where he's played as a centre mid, playing alongside Partey, playing without the ball, his defensive work is, covering that left-hand side. So it's not unusual to see Granit Xhaka there. And that actually moves me on to talking about Granit Xhaka, because there was a question asked on Xhaka where Arteta says he had a specific role today for the game and he had the right qualities to develop that role. It's a joy to work with him. You ask him to play as a centre forward and his reaction is, yeah, I'll do my best. It's great to hear good, kind words, positive words coming out about Xhaka. It's almost this guy's almost a shadow of what we saw of him last season. I can't remember ever feeling so good about seeing Xhaka on the pitch. And like I said, him filling in at left back at the beginning was very, very strange. It seemed desperate. It seemed out of place. But to be fair to Mikel, to be fair to Xhaka, it worked. It worked really well. And, like I said, I get that it's Sheffield United and I get the opposition were poor, but it's not just about seeing who the opponent is and how much trouble they can cause and how competent the defender is in stopping the opposition attackers from attacking that left-hand side. It's also a case of looking at the player himself and seeing whether he's comfortable there, whether he's able to hold a good solid shape, and how he is developing in that role. Body language, playing with the ball, what are his options like? How is he in keeping the structure, the defensive structure? Because, the back four is made up of 4 players. They're very much a unit. You don't rely on one player to, lead the line. It's all 4 men working together as one. And what I saw yesterday was a very competent performance, and one where he got on with it. He did his role and he got on with it. He's naturally a central midfielder, but like I said, it's very common for Granit Xhaka to fill in on that left-hand side when, for example, Kieran is out of position, when he's bombing forward. We lose the ball on the halfway line. The opposition hit us on a counter-attack. You often see Granit Xhaka filling in into that gap. That's his responsibility as a left-sided central midfielder. And also, the fact that we actually saw the best of Thomas Partey, I felt like yesterday. He was dynamic and he was quite responsive almost on every occasion when he got the ball. And what I mean by responsive is he was a lot more attentive in his role. It's not, he understood that he's not playing alongside Xhaka. He can't put his weight, take the weight off the game a little bit. He can't afford to just focus on his role. He now has to focus on the defensive side of things and the structural side of things that Xhaka does, where he's sitting next to him and, the shape is there and it allows Partey to be a little bit more flexible. So I feel like we are going to be depending and relying on Granit Xhaka for the foreseeable future, certainly for as long as... Tierney's out for the rest of the season. So what do you do? I mean, if you can't play Cedric, potentially it might be the case that you play Cedric on the left-hand side and you alternate between Chambers and Bellerin on the right-hand side. But, the most important game coming up of the season is the second leg of the Europa League quarterfinals. And it'll be interesting to see what Arteta does for that game, whether Xhaka keeps his place. And if he does, that will be the real test where we'll see what he's made of. And finally, a player that he spoke about was Gabi Martinelli. And I spoke about Gabi Martinelli a lot yesterday in my post-match reaction. I've been speaking about him a lot this whole past week. I had a massive rant where I was so frustrated where the fan base were, constantly badgering the club, badgering Arteta to play him. He played him in the Europa League, didn't work out so well. Played him against Sheffield United, worked a treat. And this is what he had to say about Martinelli. He said, "We have to be a little bit patient with him, but he has a bright future at the club and he will have all the opportunities that he needs to show how good he is and the career he can have with us." Gabi has a lot of things to improve. He has got big qualities as well, and we have other players in those positions. So everything that Arteta says there shows me he knows what he's doing with Martinelli. There isn't a second in my mind. There isn't any bit of worry about misusing Martinelli, about not knowing how to, or maybe not giving him enough game time, or not fancying him, as a lot of people have been saying. I think we need to think a little bit more rationally, logically, and think from the manager's perspectives. He has a group of really young players that are coming up the ranks quicker than they should be. They're blowing things up in the academy, and they're banging down that door to get into the first team. He's got no choice but to hear those knocks and to allow them in. But in order to get the best out of them, he needs to progress them one step at a time. He needs to develop them at their own pace. And as he said, this is someone who has a very bright future at the club. He's got all the opportunities that he needs to show how good he is. And he did do against Sheffield United, which was the perfect opportunity and the perfect game for him to shine in. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that he needs to improve. And there's a lot of things that he needs to work on in order to sharpen his tools, because the qualities are there. We can see you often know when there is a special player there, because it's not just what they do on the ball, but it's the presence. It's how they project themselves and how they make the overall team performance look. And yesterday, I have to say, whenever Martinelli got the ball, whenever he was in and around in the final third, in the 6-yard box, he made us look more dangerous and more threatening than we maybe usually are. We looked a lot more potent. We looked a lot more deadly, and it seemed like we looked a little bit more sharper as well in the final third. But look, at the end of the day, he is a 19, 20, however old he is, very, very young. He's a kid, and he's got a lot to learn. He's got a lot of experience to gain. I really do appreciate this response from Arteta, because like I said, it shows me immediately that he knows what he wants to do with Martinelli. The club have a plan for him, and it's not one which misuses him, or which where there's confusion, or where there are detrimental consequences to certain decisions, like they did with Saliba. This is someone they're monitoring very carefully, and they are protecting more than anything. So hats off to them, hats off to Martinelli, hats off to the boys for getting a positive result. We now move on to Slavia Prague, who come up in literally 3 days, before our fate is sealed. If we don't make it into the semi-finals, we are well and truly screwed. If Arsenal lose this game, there will be a lot to answer for. And I fear for Arteta, and I fear for what will unleash. All hell will break loose. But I'm going to talk about that for another. I'm going to save all of that for another day. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and hit that bell notification to be notified every time I release a video. I'll be back again tomorrow for another one, where I'll be looking at some breaking news, talking about what's happening right now in and around the club. Just a news update. Hopefully some injury update as well. But until then, stay home, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.